Welcome back, everyone. With the recent patch that went live with Helldivers 2, it left a lot of people upset and angry. You can see a lot of this frustration over on the Reddit and Discord. And frustration might be an understatement with the type of responses and things that people have said. So soon after the patch was launched, we got an article talking about weapon balancing from the head of product testing, Patrik Lasota. But first off, we're going to get into what Patrik Lasota sent out about balancing the firepower in Helldivers 2. He said, "Hello everyone, my name is Patrik Lasota. I was the designer on the first Helldivers and I am currently head of product testing at Arrowhead. A bit of a grandiose title, but what it means in this context is that I'm responsible for how Arrowhead listens to feedback and balances its games. I'd like to talk about the changes we made in this patch and why. So for primary weapons, he has said, first I'd like to speak to the general power of primary weapons. Many have commented that they aren't powerful enough and are unable to deal with all the enemies either by the amount of ammunition required or their raw DPS. This is very much intentional. You need to rely on your stratagems and the stratagems of your team to deal with all the enemies effectively, either by eagle strikes, orbitals, support weapons, or turrets. Some of your loadout team should be tailoring their loadout to killing the weaker stuff more efficiently. This doesn't mean that your primary weapon shouldn't feel good to use, but please understand that it is primary only in the sense that it's something you always spawn with." The next portion here is called Nerfs and Fantasy. I have seen the game released seen many who say don't nerf, only buff, and other similar ideas. However, as a designer, I can tell you this is not a great idea, but I understand where the sentiment comes from. All too often in the game industry, the core fantasy and what makes a weapon feel good and fun is ignored for the sake of balance. I believe players are scared of nerfs because it will ruin the fantasy of a weapon, ruin their fun. It is extra important to us to tread carefully so that we don't ruin fantasy and fun when we do nerfs. We hope you, our players, will tell us when we have crossed that line inadvertently. Please take a closer look at the changes we have made from this balance patch." So now he starts to get into the actual weapons that were nerfed. First up here is the Breaker. The Breaker was quickly pinned down as the meta weapon, vastly outperforming other weapons and being the best choice for all Helldivers, at least if YouTube is to be believed. Helldivers veterans will remember the Breaker from the first game and how powerful it was, something we have made an effort to mimic in this game as well. When we look at the Breaker in the data we have on its usage, it painted a picture of a well-liked weapon that was great at killing and generally had a few more kills than other weapons. It was, however, not necessarily better at making you succeed in a mission, and no real damage nerfs were warranted. The calculated total damage per magazine was quite high compared to other weapons, however, something that could be reined in while reinforcing the intended fantasy. Now, the fantasy of the Breaker is a powerful automatic shotgun that bucks wildly as you hose down targets in front of you. It should be deadly up close with high DPS, and its major drawback should be ammunition management and pacing your fire so as to not overshoot a target. To that end, we have lowered the amount of shells in each magazine and increased the recoil. The Punisher. Now, the Punisher is a powerful pump shotgun that should hit hard, but be limited by its slow reload and fire rate. Its round reload allows you to have it constantly topped up and makes the ammunition efficiency fantastic. Unfortunately, the Punisher had a bug with only half ammo being picked up each time picked up ammunition, making its supposed great ammunition economy quite poor instead. It also had a weak impact when firing on enemies, often requiring multiple shots even at shorter range. Bringing it more in line with intended fantasy, we increased the damage per shotgun pellet, the stagger amount, and the total amount of ammunition you can carry. We hope this will make it feel more punchy, as even if you don't kill a hunter with the first shot, you will most likely stagger it, giving you time for a follow-up. The Breaker Spray and Pray. The Breaker S&P was intended to be an even wilder, more point and destroy version of the regular Breaker, something where pacing yourself would be even harder. Shotgun that requires you to get closer, but in comparison have a higher damage potential once up close. As many players commented, however, it was mostly good for tickling anything larger than a scavenger. To bring it closer to the fantasy, we increased its armor penetration, increased its fire rate from 300 to 330, and increased the amount of shotgun pellets in each shot from 12 to 16. To compensate for this additional firepower, we reined in the magazine capacity from 32 to 26, as to not make it outshine the regular Breaker too much in the ammunition economy department. And here's the big one that everyone has been talking about, the railgun. Another one of the current meta weapons enforced by its convenience and efficiency. The railgun is really intended to be a high-powered anti-tank sniper rifle, requiring both timing with the unsafe fire mode and accuracy with where you hit the enemy. It was vastly outperforming in how safe it was to use and how convenient it was. not requiring a backpack or assistance to be effective, not requiring risk to take out even larger armored targets. To that end, we have changed it so that the safe mode is capable of penetrating medium armor, such as the automaton scoutwalkers, but not more heavily armored enemies like the chargers and bile titans. For those targets, you must run it in unsafe mode and overcharge it. In addition, we reined in the railgun's ability to damage massive body parts, meaning to get any real efficiency out of it, you must score hits on heads and other weak points. We are aware it rose to prominence as part of the other anti-tank weapons, not being as convenient or efficient in comparison. We are monitoring the situation closely and will adjust more based on how this change plays out. So the flamethrower is really the embodiment of stepping into a queen's lair and torching all her eggs, as done by a badass action Herod. It should be powerful up close and an inconvenience to enemies that are lit on fire, or yourself if you light yourself on fire, or your teammates. Anything around you is just on fire, or want to walk through the fire and flames. As many have commented, the flamer has felt a little too anemic, not outputting damage at a rate that is warranted by a weapon with a shorter range and a large volatility such as a flamethrower. We have increased the flamethrower's direct damage to be able to barbecue enemies that get close enough much faster. Please enjoy your terminated barbecue device responsibly, as this also makes it even more volatile for any Helldivers caught in his stream. Yes, I saw a video someone posted, taking out a charger really fast with this thing. I said, you know what, I want to try that. Let me get up a flamethrower. I'm gonna go, fight some chargers. Did not go well. They die really quickly to this flamethrower. I want to say it was a 20% 20 or 50% increase to damage. I think it was 50. And it works great until you're just slow and you can't do anything and you just get overrun. Next up is the laser cannon. Our original intent with the laser cannon has the role of a machine gun, but with theoretically infinite ammunition. However, many players were somewhat disappointed by this role, expecting more armor penetration from the large drilling beam that it looks like, especially when looking at the orbital laser that can drill down and kill even the heaviest targets given enough time. Here we had decided to side with the community and shift the laser cannon more towards the player's expectation of their fantasy. The laser cannon has gained additional damage versus massive body parts, increased armor penetration to making it capable of dealing with medium armor, and better ergonomics to make it easier to stay on target. As this is quite a major change from the original intention of the weapon, please be prepared that it might change again in the future if these changes don't work out well. For now, let us know how it feels. The shield backpack. Now, the shield backpack is safety at the expense of a backpack slot. Unfortunately, the safety offered up by the shield backpack was a bit too great, essentially allowing you to ignore many mechanics that contribute to the fun of Helldivers, such as knockbacks, shockwaves, and giant explosions, obliterating you and your friends. To that end, we have increased the time the shield needs before it starts regeneration, if not broken, quite significantly. This essentially means that you can't hide behind a rock for 5 seconds to get your shield back to full. Instead, it will be a degrading health bar until it breaks. Now, when the shield breaks, it will take longer to regenerate than before, but still significantly shorter than if it had not broken. To compensate for these extra times, the regen speed of the shield itself is near instant to max HP. This is only a partial solve in our minds for the shield backpack, but it should bring it out from the must-have meta slot it has filled currently. And lastly, here is the 120 and the 380 barrages. The fantasy of these is an artillery storm denying entry to the area in which they are activated, raining down powerful shells on the target for a longer duration. They are primarily different from Eagle stratagems in that while the Eagle strikes are fast to arrive and have pinpoint accuracy, they have a longer active time but are less accurate. They have, however, not delivered on the feel of being active much longer or the saturated area denial effect. To bring them closer to the fantasy, we have decreased their scatter area and given them an extra salvo. They should still solve a different problem from the Eagles, but have more value. In closing, I hope this gives you a greater insight into how we are thinking around balancing and why we need to make the changes we have. Happy Helldiving. So I'm glad that they kind of went into it a bit more into why they did the things that they did. It still did not heal the wounds of people that are upset from the railgun and things getting nerfed. A lot of people are saying, why not just buff everything, don't nerf? And like he said, that's usually not the best way to go about it. So how do you guys feel personally about the weapon changes? Do you think things seem pretty balanced now? I know the thing is, though, a lot of people that are running like 7 through 9s, they need that railgun, having, 5 or 6 chargers and bile titans on the field all at once, and people that are still down in like 4 and 5 don't really see that. And so, like for me, I'm not quite there yet in terms of like the higher stuff. Well, I can see the railgun definitely needing to be strong enough to take down those enemies, but you know, I'm just not there yet, so I don't see a lot of what the veteran players, the players that have been playing a long time, see. So what are your opinions on it? Do you feel that the railgun is still alright in unsafe mode? Since a lot of people were running it in unsafe mode anyway, you know, or was this justified? Is it working? Are people you know, blowing up a little bit too much about this? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But that's going to be it for me. So I hope you guys have a great day, great night, and I will possibly see you in game.